Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon. I think we have some people from across the pond joining us, too. My name's Tim Kelliger. I'm the Product Marketing Manager for Enerpac. Today we're going to be talking about the Enerpac cutters. We have our distributor sales training webinar. That's today. Thanks, everybody, for joining. Just a few administrative things before we start. All of the lines are muted. We're going to open up the lines for questions at the end, but right now you can use the chat function in WebEx to ask any questions, but we'll address all of them at the end, and if we get to some in the middle, that'll be good as well. We are recording this presentation, so this will be available on the Enerpac.com support and then training videos. Also, to everybody that signed up for this webinar on Enerpac.com, we will be sending a version of this presentation out. So that will be available to you. But with that, I think that's all the administrative stuff. We're going to dive into the presentation. I also want to introduce the person that's going to be presenting with me, Kurt Huber.
Hello, everybody. So
Kurt's the global product manager for the tools segment, which these Enerpac cutters fall under. So at the beginning of this video, we're going to be playing, or at the beginning of this presentation, we're going to play a quick video. There we go. So important in this video, you can pay attention to all of the applications and the different styles of cutters. So we're going to be touching on all of this information today in the presentation. But without any further ado.
Tim, thanks for showing that video. And those of you on the webinar, I hope you were able to pay close attention to that, because that video will help us gain insights as we go over these slides and as we discuss how the value add that these tools bring. But if we just hop to the next slide here. Tim, I'm really excited. You know, we've launched a lot of new products together. And when I look at these cutters, what strikes me is these are tools that people need now. They've got applications for which the solutions that they're using now are just, in some cases, horrible. And so when we show these solutions to our customers, a lot of people get very, very excited, and the value add that we're bringing, the message that we're bringing really resonates with people. So I'm as excited as I have ever been in doing a new product introduction. But folks, we're going to go over a few key points today. We'll start out with giving you an overview of our portfolio of the new tools. We'll talk a little bit about what makes them good, what makes them different. We'll have a look at some of the key applications where they're used, and we'll consider some of the ways that people are currently doing those jobs, and then we'll talk about, what is it that makes us different and better, okay? 5 new families of tools. This is a huge launch. So if you see this slide, you'll see 5 different families of tools depicted here, along with the different types of materials that these tools are designed to cut. So we'll be talking about 2 different main types of solutions within these 5 families. And one of those is the electric and the other is hydraulic. But I just want to clarify up front, all of these tools feature a hydraulic circuit. And so you'll see some tools that are plugged into the wall that are powered by electricity. And these tools have an internal hydraulic pump driving a hydraulic circuit, which drives a blade. Other solutions work with an external pump, but in a sense, they're all hydraulic. However, for the sake of simplicity, we're going to refer to those tools that are powered by electricity that you just plug into the wall and use, plug-and-play tools, as electric tools. And we're going to refer to the other tools that use an external pump as hydraulic tools. So hopefully that distinction is clear to everybody. Looking on the next slide here, this simply tells you that when it comes to the electric tools, as is the case with other Enerpac solutions, we've got 120 volt and 230 volt versions available. 120 volts with the typical US style plugs. The 230 volt is with those two round prong European or Schukel style power plugs, and the hydraulic tools are used together with specially adapted ZE6 pumps, and these pumps provide the exact flow that's needed to give the combination of power and speed that the customers are going to need to use these tools. A few words to our nomenclature. For those of you who are familiar with Enerpac nomenclature, hopefully this looks fairly familiar. We try to create a smart nomenclature that when you look at it, you understand what it is that you're looking at. So as we start with the digits from the left here, you see an E, that just means Enerpac. B, that tells what type of solution it is. So in this case, B is for bar cutter. The next digit says E in this case. It's going to be either an E or an H, and that tells you if it's an electric or hydraulic power source. So the next pair of digits there is a 22 in this case. That's telling the user, hey, this is a 22 mil blade, or this is a tool with a 22 mil aperture, which tells them something about the size of the applications the tool can be used in. And finally, you've got the designation for the voltage. Just like with the Enerpac pumps, B is going to be the 120 volt and E is going to be the 230 volt. Folks, we're going to take a look at some of the different applications and alternative methods. And when we introduce new Enerpac tools, of course, there's almost a mantra that you tend to hear from us, and it's all about productivity, safety, and simplicity. We like to bring tools as a premium supplier that really increase the productivity of our customers, that take solutions to a new level of safety that are just dead easy to use. And I don't think I've ever seen a greater distinction in productivity, safety, and simplicity between what we're offering here and what customers have as alternative solutions. A lot of these solutions are hazardous, they're difficult to do, and they take a long time. So productivity, safety, and simplicity are key benefits, and we're going to see this again and again in the following slides. Starting out with our bar cutters, we offer 2 different types. These are available in both the self-contained electric tools as well as the hydraulic tools. With the bar cutter, as you can see here in the pictures, it's very simple to use. The user simply takes the bar, or in many cases it's going to be rebar, and places the rebar or the bar in the head of the tool and adjusts a little holding bolt there, pulls the trigger, and the bar is cut. So where are these used and why do we show them first? Rebar is something that is used on every single job site, whether it's residential, commercial, civil construction, you name it. Everywhere you go on a construction site, people are going to need rebar, and they're going to need to cut that rebar, whether it's cut in the fab shop or whether it's cut there on the job site, and they need a handy solution to do that. So the need for something like this is all around us. On the left, you'll see a tool. This is the hydraulic tool. In this example, it's being used in a fabrication shop, and that tool is great for heavier duty or higher volume applications. But again, steel contractors, steel fabricators, masonry contractors, concrete contractors, GCs, and the like are the customer base for this type of solution. So how are these people doing these applications now? You can have a look at these pictures. You'll get an idea. Generally speaking, by and large, we see people using one of two things. It's either going to be an angle grinder, like a 4.5-inch grinder with a cutoff wheel, usually an abrasive blade of some type, or they're going to be using like a 12 or a 14-inch gas saw, like a Steel or a Husqvarna or something of that nature. The pros and cons, I think, are pretty readily visible there. Angle grinders are very cheap. Abrasive blades don't cost that much. But when you're using a solution like this, you just look at the picture and you know you've got sparks everywhere, which means, number one, it can be hazardous to the user or bystanders. And beyond that, if you're going to be using a solution like that on a job site, you're probably going to need a hot work permit. So hazardous to use. We know these types of solutions are associated a lot of times with hand injuries, and so not an ideal solution for cutting of rebar. There are other solutions out there in the market which are less common, but which are somewhat better suited. And one of those solutions is an edge cutter. You see that tool with a blue handle, third picture from the right. Edge cutters are a bit better than an angle grinder for cutting rebar. They're safer. They've got a nice cover. So they do get the job done. We see them used more often on job sites than in fabrication shops. And part of the reason I think for that is that as much as the edge cutter brings advantages in terms of safety, it's not the fastest tool. So it's going to take the user a while to get through that rebar, say 5-6 seconds. And on the right-hand picture there, you see a like-for-like competitive product, and that is the B&N bar cutter. That is an established provider out there that we see that provides these tools. Tools are out there. They do work. We've tested some out. There's some pros and cons to these tools, but if you do run into this application, by and large, you're going to be up against angle grinders or gas saws. Occasionally, you might see competitive like-for-like tools. Enerpac offers two different sizes, and if you look at the top there, you see the EVE-22. Of course, if you remember the nomenclature slide, that means a 22 mil blade or a 22 mil aperture for a 22 mil application. And what is that going to cover? That's going to cover almost all of your rebar. Okay, number 4, 5, 6, even number 7 rebar can be cut with that number 22. So the 26 is kind of a problem solver for very large rebar or for customers who are cutting other types of round bar in fabrication shops, for example. These tools, that is easy to use. You place the rebar, you pull the trigger, 3 seconds later, your cut's done. Ideal for use on the job site or in a fabrication shop gets through that rebar or that bar very quickly, very safely, very easily with no sparks. Also available from Enerpac is our new line of EVH cutters. So here we have 3 sizes of hydraulic tools, and if you look at the picture to the right, you'll see that these tools are connected to the pump, and included in that connection is a twin hydraulic hose and also an electric cable. And in case you're wondering what that electric cable is doing there, it allows the user to control that tool directly from the handle. So although you are connected to an electric pump, you don't have to be going back to the pump and pushing buttons. You can control, advance, and retract directly from the handle of the tool, making it a very simple tool to use. And where are we going to be using these hydraulic tools? We're going to be using these tools in those applications where you're either going to need a bit more power, or you've got a larger application, or you've got an application where you're really going to be doing a high volume of cutting. because in this case we're using an external pump with a large reservoir with a lot of hydraulic fluid, which means it is not going to get hot very quickly at all, which means you can just keep using that tool for longer periods of time. Very easy to use, very quick to use, very quiet. The tool itself, the weight, of course, is heavier, so you're not going to have the same mobility, probably not going to be taking these tools out to many construction sites, but ideal for use in production environments. The next tool is our chain cutter, and Tim, this is another one where we've seen a lot of interest with our customers. Cutting chain is just notoriously difficult, and there are not a lot of good ways to do it. This tool is very simple and easy to use. It's a self-contained electric tool. The user simply takes the chain, places it between those blades there. You'll see in the picture a protective shield or protective cover. That thing is lowered down over the chain, over the blades, and allows the user to just cut that chain in a very protected and safe way, again, without any sparks and without any difficulty. So there are a lot of types of chain out there, and these range from your very low grade, grade 30 general purpose chain to the grade 120 high strength alloy. When we talk with our customers, we tend to see a lot of the grade 43 and the grade 70 general purpose chains used, and these are used in things like container securement and towing and similar types of applications. Very commonly used solutions. The grade 80 chain is used specifically for overhead lifting. All of these chains, grade 30, 43, 70, and 80, are great options for customers who need to use this chain. Our tool is a perfect solution for cutting those chains. Please, a word of caution here, there are higher grade chains out there, and these chains are specifically used for overhead lifting. And I'm talking about the grade 100 and grade 120. These are very hard chains, especially the grade 120, very, very hard chains. And we don't recommend that people use our chain cutters to be cutting these hard chains, simply because the life that you get out of the tool when cutting these chains may not be according to customer expectations. You run the risk of damaging the blade, and you run the risk of damaging the tool when going up against such a high-grade chain like this. So please be on the lookout, understand how these things are positioned. They're great for general purpose chains or even overhead lifting chains of grade 80. Once you start getting those higher 120 or the super alloy steel chains, that is something that we don't recommend. And if a tool were to break in cutting those types of chains, that would not be a warranty type of situation. How do people cut chains today? We said it wasn't pleasant and it wasn't easy, and typically what we're seeing used is either a torch or a saw. There's just only so many ways to do this, and you can probably guess the challenges with both of those solutions. It's not very pleasant to do when using a torch or a saw of some sort. You get a lot of blowback from that flame. You've got sparks everywhere. And let's face it, these chains are difficult to cut. It takes you a while to get through them with these types of solutions, especially when you get into the somewhat higher grades. You can simply sit there for a long time trying to get through these chains. And so when we've shown these chain cutters to people who do these solutions, they were really excited, and it generated a lot of opportunity for us very early on. Next slide, please. Enerpac offers, at this point, a self-contained electric tool. This chain cutter is capable of cutting up lengths that are up to 1.25 inches. And if you've never seen a chain of that size, this is a very good size chain with individual lengths that are 1.25 inches in diameter of the grade 40. Of course, when you get up into the higher grades, that capability goes down a little bit. So we're recommending an application range of up to 1 inch when you're cutting a grade 80 chain. These tools are simple to use, they're very safe, and they're very fast. And when customers see them, they're going to be excited. Moving on to our wire and cable cutters. Our wire and cable cutters are offered in both the self-contained electric and the hydraulic solutions. When we talk about wire and cable, we're really talking about two very distinct types of applications here. On the left, you'll see cables, and when we say cables, what we're talking about is your electric cables, telecommunication cables, and power cables, okay? And when we talk about wire ropes or wires, we're talking about the types of wire rope you see on the right picture there, and these wire ropes are typically used for applications like hoisting or pulling and mooring. So two very different applications. How are these done today? It really depends on what's being cut and the size of what's being cut. So when we're talking about smaller electric cables, we often see there are a lot of hand tools out there in the market, specifically when we're talking about, say, 1/4 inch, smaller than a 1/4 inch, 3/8, or even up to a 1/2 inch. We see hand tools or sometimes cordless tools. When you get into the larger cables, like the ones on the right, there to cut those, sometimes we see similar hydraulic solutions out there in the market. So in the center picture, you'll see a shear type tool, hydraulic tool that's being used, and on the far right there, you see a guillotine style cutter being used. Cutting wire rope is a little bit different. It's much more difficult to cut, and here typically we're going to see more powerful solutions. So here we have as examples all the way to the left, you'll see, which is actually an Enerpac product, or a cable cutter from Enerpac, which we've been selling for a while. Then in the right, you see a handheld electric tool, and in the far right, you'll see that somebody is using some type of saw to try and cut through that wire cable or that wire rope, and that's typically what we see out there in the market today. Enerpac offers two types of solutions, like we said, starting out with our electric tools. These tools are very easy to use. They're self-contained, obviously. If you look to the picture on the right, you'll see that that head opens up to accommodate the wire or the cable. So it's super simple to use. It's portable, can be taken to the job site, can actually power through cables up to over 2 inches in diameter, okay? So this is really a different solution than the hand tools or even those handy cordless tools that you can use on smaller jobs or jobs that are, or cables that are using softer materials like copper or aluminum, for example. These are heavy-duty solutions. Next are hydraulic tools. We have 3 different sizes available. If you look to the picture on the right there, you'll see that these tools also are connected to the pump by a cable, and once again, we see here that the tools are connected by a twin hose and also an electric cable. And of course, what does that allow us to do? It allows us to control the action for the tool directly from the handle, so it's super simple to use. You've got your advance and retract buttons directly on the tool itself. So although you connect it to a pump, which gives you a lot of power and speed, you're not going to have to go back to that pump to activate the tool. 3 different sizes of tools allow users to cut into materials that are up to over 7 inches in diameter. Okay, so where are we going to use these? We're not going to be using them probably in the same applications that we would use the highly mobile self-contained unit. These are bigger, heavier tools. These tools are going to be used in production environments where larger materials are being cut or higher volume jobs are being completed. And you'll note there from the weight that these are not tools that you're likely to pick up by hand. You're going to need some type of hoist to do that, and so you see directly on the tool itself is an eye bolt for lifting the tool. Flat bar cutters. If you look at the flat bar cutters, you might be reminded a little bit of the bar cutters that are used for cutting rebar, because the tool looks and acts very similar to that tool. However, what's different about this tool, if you look at it, you'll notice that the head is shaped differently. It's shaped that way to accommodate, instead of round bar or rebar, these tools are used for flat or rectangular bar. The flat bar cutters are ideal solutions for steel fabricators, okay? And so steel fabricators use this type of flat bar when they're working on frames, braces, and housing, materials like that. So anywhere we see steel and metal fabrication being done, the flat bar is an ideal solution. How are these jobs done today? We typically see them being done, again, it's the same cast of characters, with angle grinders with cutoff wheels or chop saws. And again, just looking at the picture, you get an idea of what some of the drawbacks of these solutions are. Once again, you've got sparks flying all over the place, which can be hazardous for the user or bystander. You also have, when using these types of solutions to cut flat bar, the fact that it simply takes a while to get through. Flat bar is typically bigger, thicker, harder to get through than other types of bar. And so if you're using a solution like this, it'll simply take a while to power through. The flat bar cutters are self-contained electric units. We've got 2 different sizes available, and using these tools, you can cut flat bar or rectangular bar that's up to 2 3/4 inch high and over 1/2 inch wide. Super simple, easy to use. The user simply takes the bar, places it in the head, adjusts that little positioning bolt, pulls the trigger, and within 3 seconds, the bar is cut. No sparks, no difficulty, very simple and safe and easy to use. Last but not least, we're going to introduce here as the new line of Enerpac cutters our decommissioning cutters. The decommissioning cutters are all hydraulic solutions. They're used for heavy-duty decommissioning and demolition type of applications, but they're also very versatile and can be used for many other types of applications too. When it comes to decommissioning, we often see solutions like this used in the recycling of things like appliances. So on the left there, you see refrigerators. We see these tools being used in refrigerator recycling work. And we also see them in automobile scrap yards. So users that need to get into the interior of automobiles, for example, are using solutions like this to power through and to get through the door pillars so they can get into the interior of the automobile. They can also use solutions like this to get in the undercarriage, various parts of the undercarriage of the vehicles, like exhaust systems. How are these solutions done today? There are a number of different tools, and on the right hand you see there a combination of cutter spreader tool being used, and those types of tools are used to help open up doors that are impossible to otherwise access. You might see reciprocating saws used like the picture in the center. And on the left you see a similar type of shear tool that uses also an external hydraulic pump. So there are a lot of different solutions out there in the market, from the recip saw to the combination tool to this competitive like-for-like solution with the picture on the left. What's nice about our decommissioning tools is that the size, the way that the head is designed, and the power of the tool make it an ideal solution for these types of applications where it would be difficult to use a different type of tool. It's hard to imagine trying to use a recip saw or even a cutter spreader on an application like getting through a door pillar or removing the exhaust, parts of the exhaust of the undercarriage of a vehicle. We do see some direct competitors like you see there in the picture to the left. I think that's actually a Homatro tool. In the US, we'll typically see solutions. If we do see any, it's more likely probably to be a Hurst solution. Hurst is a current provider of hydraulic tools. However, as you may know, they're really focused in on the rescue market and less on the industrial market, whereas all the Enerpac tools are really designed for use in the industrial space. We've got 3 different sizes of tools that can power through materials that are up to over 6.5 inches in diameter. And so when you look at the picture on the right here, you'll see the tool is attached to a hydraulic pump. And you might notice that the picture looks a little bit different than some of the other hydraulic solutions that we offer. And the difference is this: there's no electric cable there, okay? So what we have is a twin hydraulic hose attaching the tool to the pump. If you look at the tool itself, you'll see there's no advance and retract buttons that require that cable. In this particular case, there is a knob. So there's a red knob behind the handle of the tool. You turn the knob one way, the blade's open. You turn the knob the other way, the blades close. If you look at this, the weights of these tools, you'll note that although they're hydraulic tools, they're actually not all that heavy. They're fairly lightweight tools, and that makes them very mobile. You can easily take this tool and use it in remote applications. You can use them in scrap yards. You can easily pick the cutters up and use them, for example, on a lifted automobile to remove those exhaust systems, for example. 3 different sizes of these tools are available. Very easy to use. You simply turn the knob and the blade closes very, very quickly. Now, we've been talking about the different pumps and accessories and hoses that are used in conjunction with these tools. And if you look to the brochure that we're releasing, which will be included in our catalog, there's a super simple matrix that shows exactly which tool is to be used with which pump and which cable. So if you just look at this slide, you'll note there that the EDCH, which hopefully you will remember, that means decommissioning cutter, hydraulic, those tools are used with a manual valve hydraulic pump. There's no electric cable, just a twin hydraulic hose. The tools on the bottom there in the left column, you'll see that there are a couple of different types: the Enerpac bar cutter and the wire and cable cutter. And those tools are used together with the ZE6 electric valve pump, okay? And they include the twin hydraulic hose and electric cable. So if there's any confusion about what to use, please refer to the tech brochure. It'll be on the website and in the catalog. We've talked a lot about alternative solutions, and we've stated that most of the time when we see people doing these jobs, they're using things like torches, angle grinders, gas saws, chop saws, and the like. And probably 7 or 8 out of 10 times when we see people doing these jobs, that is what we're going to be up against. There are, however, a few direct competitors. So if you look at this scale, the idea of this scale is to help you understand the intensity of competition by tool type. So you might remember when we talked about the bar cutters that there are existing companies that sell similar solutions, and one of those companies is B&N. They're a pretty well-established company in the United States. Bar cutters, if you run into customers that are using like-for-like solutions at all, it will probably be a B&N bar cutter. The picture to the left there, you'll see the decommissioning cutters. There, it is possible that you'll run into a similar hydraulic solution. We know that Hurst, for example, makes hydraulic shear-type cutters that are used with external pumps. Again, these companies, like Hurst, are really focused in on rescue, so it is possible that we see them working in the industrial space. We know that they do have solutions for this, but it's really not a focus for them. Less often, but also sometimes seen, is the wire and cable cutters. And there you might think of even the existing Enerpac wire and cable cutter that's used with an external pump. Here I would say that the wire and cable cutter you see pictured here is fairly distinct from most of those types of solutions. It's a self-contained electric tool. Like we said earlier, there are also tools that use external hydraulic pumps, but these tools have the controls directly on the tools themselves, and so that also makes them distinct from most competitive tools. And I think you will very rarely, if ever, see competitive chain cutters or flat bar cutters. There just are not many of them in the market today. So the summary here is Most of the time, folks, we're going to go up against alternative methods. There are a few direct like-for-like tools out there, and when you do run into them, usually it's going to be a company that's focusing on a particular segment of the market. That's a nice segue into the next slide, because for us, we don't do that. And one of the reasons that we're going to succeed is because we offer a broad portfolio of tools for all of our key vertical markets that we sell into today. So unlike a B&N that is really structured to focus on construction and masonry, for example, or like a Hearst who's really focused in on shear type tools for rescue, we're really focused on a broad variety of tools designed for the industrial space, designed for customers that we're selling to now, which will allow us to go further into selling to those current customers and grow with new customers. Other reasons that we're going to win, the solutions that we're bringing to the market are things that people need now. The solutions that people are using, by and large for these jobs, are terrible. They take a long time to use, they're potentially hazardous, and they're simply not very user-friendly. The last thing I want to mention is the Enerpac service. So when we interviewed people that do these types of jobs, there was a reoccurring theme with those of them that use similar types of solutions. And the thing that they brought up to us was the lack of service that they received from the types of companies that compete with us in like-for-like tools. And so something that we've been really focusing in on, Tim, is to prepare ourselves to offer best-in-class service to our customers. That means getting ready from the repair side, making sure that we have comprehensive repair sheets available for customers. We're building hundreds of spares kits for those customers that need the spare kits or replacement parts. That'll also enable us to support customers in doing quick turnarounds and repairs. We've got the Enerpac Academy over here, which is all trained up and has created a training module which will allow them to train Enerpac authorized service centers and distributors. So that missing service element that we see with our competitors is in an area where we expect to shine. So folks, so far we've been talking specifically and exclusively about the new line of Enerpac cutters. But I want to remind you that a few months back, we released a line of simplex cutters. Now, not every customer is going to need all the bells and whistles that we're bringing with these Enerpac tools. We want to lead with the Enerpac tools, but sometimes we're going to encounter customers who are doing, let's say, lower volume jobs, okay? And they're not willing to spend the money that's needed to purchase that premium solution. Or maybe they've just got a very limited budget that they're working with. Or maybe it's a customer that already has a hydraulic pump and they don't want to invest in anything else. For these types of opportunities, we have a second brand of product with the Simplex HCC and CC type cutters. With the Simplex line of cutters, we have a fairly broad portfolio of both the wire and cable cutters, which are fairly versatile tools, as well as the chain cutters. So you'll notice looking at these pictures that some of the tools have integrated hand pumps. So these are very simple tools that are great for applications that are fairly low volume, okay? Other tools you see there have a hydraulic connection on them, and they can be used with customers' existing 10,000 PSI pumps. So again, lead with the Enerpac, right? But if you've got customers with low volume, limited budgets, existing pumps, not willing to put out the money for the premium solution, we have a second tier of products here which offer great solutions for those types of customers.
So with that, I would like to transition from talking about the product line to talking about the Americas specific launch. So these will be going live on the Enerpac website and on social media, and hopefully our channel partners' websites on September 9th, 2019. So that'll be for North and South America. So what does launch mean? That means that it's going live. And I think an important distinction is that's when we're going to start pushing information out outside of kind of getting to our distributors, which is what we're doing today. But an important distinction from launch and today is that everything is ready to go today. We are really just crossing T's and dotting I's in terms of that go live on the website and social media. We are ready to have these ordered. These tools are in stock in our manufacturing facility in Columbus, Wisconsin. So the tools are in stock, the blades are in stock, repair parts are in stock, and all of our pricing is set and everything's set up in our system for these to be ordered. And a quick note on pricing, we didn't have anything in pricing for the specific units, but I did want to let everybody know that when we were pricing these tools, we went with a market pricing approach. So we did all of our competitive research, and we competitively priced these tools to sell into the markets that they are in today. And I think a lot of our distributors and even our customers really be excited about the pricing that we went forward with these tools at. And the last note is all of the marketing materials are either created or they're available today. We're going to be having videos that are uploaded online very quickly. But we've got a large technical brochure that we're sending out to all of our territory managers today and should be available on the website as soon as we go live. We'll also have 5 different spec sheets, so for the 5 different series. So that'll be a 1-page flyer with all of the specs of those cutters. There will also be sell sheets for each of those 5 series, or 5 types, I should say. And that'll be the information or everything you need to know before you walk into a customer on these tools. So it'll be where does it sell inside the Enerpac line, where does it sell against the alternatives and competitors, and what are the features and benefits and the things you really want to highlight. Sales call PowerPoints, competitive crossovers, product photos, application stories. We've actually sold a decent amount of these tools to the field already, and we want to make sure that we can write down some stories and make sure everybody understands exactly where these things will win and why they won in their specific situations. You saw the commercial video at the beginning of this presentation. We'll also have demo videos. So we recognize that these tools are new to Enerpac. So we took the approach of we need to make sure that everybody understands how they're used and in what kind of situation could they be used. So we have 7 total demo videos for the 5 different types of cutters, and then inside there's hydraulic and electric versions of 2 of those series. So that's why we came out to that 7. Those are going to be really valuable videos and showing to our customers and distributors and getting us in the door. And lastly, this training presentation will be sent to everybody that registered for the webinar. For marketing support, contact your local territory manager. They can push you towards our Enerpac marketing page where it will have all of these materials saved in one convenient location. Or you can contact me, Tim Kelliger, at timothy.kelliger@enerpac.com. With that, that's the end of our Enerpac Cutters launch training. Now I'd like to open the lines up for any questions.
The conference has been unmuted.
So are there any questions about the Enerpac Cutters launch?
Hi, where are the bar cutter information on your website? I did a quick look and didn't see it. Is it available yet?
So that's what I was kind of referencing with that go live date is that launch will be when the information gets pushed out onto the website. But if you want to send me a quick email, I can get you the technical brochure and any of the information that you need.
Okay, could you thanks.
Yep. Figured you would need that. Any other questions? All right. Well, I appreciate everybody taking some time today. I think it was a really good presentation. Again, this will be available going forward, but really excited for these cutters to get into the market. I think this is going to be a big differentiator for Enerpac, and we're going to enter a market that's really exciting and make some big waves and help our channel partners and our customers. So thank you, everybody, again. Have a great day.
Thanks.